Happy Learning Day, Grade 8 English learners, and welcome to DepEd TV. I am your teacher, Franny, Teacher Rami. Get ready and enjoy learning English for Grade 8 right in the comfort of your home. So come on, get your pen, paper, and your self-learning module, and let's start to learn and to love English. In our past episode, we discussed emotional response verbs that can be used in expressing emotions and opinions to persuade or convince, and we first focused our discussion on
Lights, camera, and
action verbs. Now for today, we will continue our discussion on the second type of verb that can be used in expressing opinions and emotions, and that is your modal verbs or modals. Modals are verbs that express a suggestion or recommendation, which is an effective way to convince or persuade. To further clarify the difference of each modal, they are arranged from weakest to strongest in terms of expressing a suggestion or recommendation. Here's a table that shows their functions and examples. Modal, could. Function, it is used to give a suggestion which a person may or may not follow. Example sentence.
I suggest you play with your brother and sister, or you could join me pray for your tatay's safety.
The modal could is used to give a suggestion that the person could join the speaker in praying. Next modal, should. Function, it is also used to give a suggestion but more insistent than the modal could. Example sentence.
No, Noel, I strongly disagree. You should follow what I tell you.
The modal should is used to suggest that the person needs to follow what the speaker said. Next modal, ought to. Function, it is used to formally give advice or a recommendation, usually coming from an expert. Example sentence.
The Department of Health, or DOH, recommends that people ought to stay at home so that they will not get sick.
The modal ought to is used to formally suggest that staying at home is important. Next modal, had better. Function, it is used to give a recommendation by presenting the possible negative consequence if the advice is not followed. Example sentence.
During the enhanced community quarantine, you had better wear your mask in public places or the police will arrest you.
The modal had better is used since the possible negative consequence, the police will arrest you, is presented to serve as a warning. Next modal, must. Function, it is used to show a strong obligation that needs to be followed. Example sentence.
The government must control the people's movement in public to stop the spread of virus.
The modal must is used to express the strong obligation of the government in taking action against the spread of the virus. Now take a look at the verbs used in this paragraph. Here is a persuasive paragraph that uses action verbs and modals to show emotions and opinions. People worry about this pandemic and its effects on society and them as individuals. The situation either depresses or overwhelms them. However, feeling that way will not be of help to you. Mental health experts say that you ought to motivate yourself to be a responsible citizen at this time, which means that you must take care of your own health, both mental and physical. You had better take care of your mind and body, or you will suffer the consequences. If you do not, you will not be able to function well. Therefore, you must take care of your health. The action verbs used that show emotions are worry, depresses, overwhelms, and motivate. And the modal verbs used are ought to, must, and had better. It's now time to practice what you have learned about verbs. Activity 1. Classify the verbs on a separate sheet. Fill out the graphic organizer with the correct examples of the different types of verbs used to express emotions and opinions. Action verbs that tell or state an emotion and modal verbs that express a suggestion or recommendation. Let's now classify the verbs. Under the category of action verbs, please, excite, shock, amuse, annoy, worry, love. Under modals, we have could, should, ought to, had better, must. Have you correctly identified the action verbs and modal verbs? That's great! Did the graphic organizer help you familiarize with the different action verbs that express emotions and modals that express suggestions or recommendations? Cool, right? You were able to classify the verbs accordingly with the use of the graphic organizer. Let's answer another activity. Assessment 1. Pick out the verbs used in each sentence. Write your answers on a separate sheet. For numbers 1 and 2, pick out the action verbs in each item. Number 1. I motivate myself by thinking I am helping the frontliners by simply staying indoors. Number 2. I disagree that parents should not limit their children's use of gadgets. For numbers 3 to 5, pick out the modal verbs. Number 3. You are stressed with your work. You should take a break. Number 4. To instill sense of responsibility, children must be taught to do household chores. Number 5. To maintain good health, experts recommend that you ought to eat the right kinds and amount of food. Let's check your answers. Number 1. I motivate myself by thinking I am helping the frontliners by simply staying indoors. The action verb is motivate. Number 2. I disagree that parents should not limit their children's use of gadgets. The action verb is disagree. Number 3. You are stressed with your work. You should take a break. The modal verb is should. Number 4. To instill sense of responsibility, children must be taught to do household chores. The modal verb is must. Number 5. To maintain good health, experts recommend that you ought to eat the right kinds and amount of food. The modal verb is ought to. Let's master our topic with the other succeeding activities. So put your thinking caps on and get ready to answer. Assessment 2. Complete the following statements by providing the appropriate verbs found in the box. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. Number 1. It is recommended by health experts that a person blank sleep 8 hours a day. Number 2. You blank make use of your time at home by either doing gardening or cooking.
Number 3. Depression is seriously not a joke. People who are depressed, blank, seek a doctor's help.
Number 4. I blank everything that I do. Maybe I should start looking at the brighter side of things. Number 5. You blank avoid vices such as taking illegal drugs, drinking alcohol, and smoking, for they are harmful to your health. And here are your choices. Must, ought to, doubt, could, had better. It's time to check your answers. Number 1. It is recommended by health experts that a person ought to sleep 8 hours a day. Number 2. You could make use of your time at home by either doing gardening or cooking.
Number 3. Depression is seriously not a joke. People who are depressed must seek a doctor's help.
Number 4. I doubt everything that I do. Maybe I should start looking at the brighter side of things. Number 5. You had better avoid vices such as taking illegal drugs, drinking alcohol, and smoking, for they are harmful to your health. We now go to our last activity. Activity 3. Complete each sentence by providing the missing letters of the verb. Write your answer on a separate sheet. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Let's reveal the answers. Number 1. The coronavirus baffles scientists and researchers. Number 2. You are stressed with your work. You should take a break. Number 3. We could watch your favorite TV series or play your favorite online game. Number 4. You have the skill in drawing. I think you should practice more to develop it. Have you correctly identified the verb in each sentence? Fantastic! Since these verbs help express feelings and opinions on certain issues, do the verbs also reflect your own responses to these issues? Somehow, we can say that it reflects your personal responses on issues. As we discussed in the previous episode, an emotional response verb indicates that someone feels something and that something happened to cause an emotional response. For your additional practice on using modals, answer the other remaining activities in your self-learning module. Practice honesty when you answer, and remember, honest hearts produce honest actions. That finally ends our lesson for today, Grade 8 English learners. Make sure to always stay tuned to DepEd TV and have a journey with me in Grade 8 English, where you will have fun and interesting learning experiences that will not just feed your mind, but will also nurture your love for English. Again, this is Teacher Rami, your friendie, saying, don't fret, because learning English is not a threat. Instead, it is our gateway to understanding and learning more about the world.